Good evening. It is January 4th, and we will be starting the meeting now here at, what time is it? 6:36. I would like to call to order and have roll call.
Don Porter.
Present.
Karen McGillivray.
Present.
Ryan Moorman.
Present.
Zach Young.
Present.
Tom Gould.
Here.
Jenna Weltine is excused. You have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll need a motion to approve the minutes of November 2nd, 2022. The motion to approve has been moved by Zach Young and seconded by Ryan Moorman. Any corrections or? No. Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Do we have any disclosures? Any on the phone?
No.
Thank you. We have special order of business, abbreviated plat actions for 12/20, 11/21, 12/12, and 12/27 of 2022. That's just informational items. So we will move on to the consent agenda, which has several resolutions. We'll need a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda. If anyone wishing to pull an item for discussion? No, first we have to move it, right? So we need it has been moved by Ryan Moorman and seconded by Zach Young. Is there anyone wishing to pull an item for discussion? Anyone on the phone?
No.
Great, thank you. The motion has been approved. The consent agenda has been approved. All right. There is no old business, so we will be moving on to new business. So we will be having a public hearing for... Oh, we need to read the public hearing process. Yes. Thank you. So, tonight we have a short board, which is meaning we have 5 members. And so I will read this into the record, and then we will move on from there. When there is a short 5-member board or commission and a postponement is offered to and agreed to by the petitioner, they will be moved to the next regular agenda. This should occur within 30 days, which does not require re-noticing to the case, new public hearings, notices, or advertising. If the petitioner is willing to postpone but unable to attend to the next available meeting date within 30 days, the petitioner has a one-time only option to choose the next date certain he or she can attend at no extra fee. When a postponement is requested by the petitioner, there is a rescheduling fee and a new public hearing date shall be determined by the Planning Division. This will put their case on the next available cutoff date queue as if they were submitting their case for the first time. So we have several cases. Do we ask them individually, or do we ask them?
We'll have 2 of them on the phone, so we'll have to ask.
Okay. Okay, is that the first one?
You're on resolutions.
Oh, all right. Okay. So, and then I also read the public hearing process? Oh, right. So Do we have the petitioner on the phone for case S12700, Lisa Ernest?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you wish to move forward with the short board as was explained earlier, or do you wish to postpone?
We'd like to move forward, please.
Excellent, thank you. So, now I read the oh. Do we have Tony Hoffman here?
Yes, I'm here.
On the phone, thank you. You are the petitioner's representative in both cases S21701 and S12704. Can you answer individually?
That is correct.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can you answer individually for S12701 that you would like to move forward with a short board?
Yes, we'd like to move forward.
And in case S12704, would you like to move forward?
Yes, we would like to move forward.
Excellent, thank you. Great.
Thank you.
Then we will move forward with all three cases, and then we will read. Oh. All right, we'll keep going. Okay, sorry. So, do we have the petitioner for case S12686, Sherry M. Cole? Could you come forward, please? Oh, wait, you'll need to speak into the mic. There's a button to turn the microphone on,
Green. There's a little green sticker.
and then the red light will come on. There. Hey, you got it. Great. So we've explained the short board process. Do you wish to move forward?
Yes.
Would you state your name, please, for the record?
My name is Brent Cole. My wife put this together. I'm co-owner with her.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, so this one's going to be postponed. The last one's going to wait.
Okay. Okay, great. The next one is going to be postponed. All right. So we have cases A through D that are going to move forward. Okay, now I can read the process. All right. So we're going to open the public hearings, and so I will read the process. The Platting Board meets each month on the first and third Wednesday except holidays as a regular meetings. If the Platting Board fails to complete its agenda for the regular meetings, the board carries over the remainder of the agenda for the following meeting. The procedure by which the public may speak to the Platting Board at its meeting is: 1. After the staff presentation is completed on public hearing items, the chair will ask for public testimony on the issue. 2. Persons who wish to testify will follow the time limits established in the Commission of Rules and Procedure. A. Petitioners, including all of his or her representatives, will be granted 10 minutes. Part of this time may be used for rebuttal. B. Representative of groups, community councils, PTAs, etc., they'll be granted 5 minutes. And C. Individuals, they will be granted 3 minutes to testify. When your testimony is complete, you may be asked questions by the board. You may only testify once on any issue unless questioned by the board. 4. Any party of interest wishing to appeal shall first file with the planning director within 7 days of the board's decision made on the record a written notice of intent to appeal in accordance with AMC 21.03.05.0A.4.A. The following approval of the written findings of fact and decision, any party of interest may, within 20 days, file an appeal of by filing a notice of appeal and paying the appeal fee and deposit in accordance with section 21.03.050. The notice of appeal may be filed with the planning director on a form prescribed by the municipality. If the appellant is not the applicant's notice of appeal shall include proof of service on the applicant. Okay. We are now ready for our first case. So, we're going to open the public hearing, and we'll start with the staff presentation for case number S12700. Staff presentation, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is a request for the removal of Plat Note 3 that states per AMC 2140-115F3, there's a 100-foot non-disturbance setback from the mean high water line of the unnamed creek from Plat 2001-176 for Hillside North Subdivision, Addition 9, Lot 3. While the request listed in the application was to modify the plat note to reduce it from a 100-foot to a 50-foot reduction, it is not standard practice to place these restrictions that refer to code as plat notes, as the property is already subject to all standards of Anchorage Municipal Code Title 21. Therefore, the Planning Department is recommending removal of Plat Note 3 rather than modification. The plat note is no longer necessary because it refers to old code, which has been rewritten and is no longer a requirement of this plat. AMC Title 21-07020B9, Natural Resource Protection, Stream, Water Body, and Wetland Protection, provides standardized stream setback requirements that are codified. The existing stream setback in Plat Note 3 is in excess of the current code requirement adopted in 2018 per AO 2018-67S1. Removal of this plat note will make reasonable use of the land, and Succogan Creek will remain subject to the 50-foot total stream setback per AMC 21-07020B9. Watershed Management Services supports the request to remove this plat note. No reviewing agencies had objections. Full comments can be found in Attachment 3. The following criteria must be met for removal of a plat note. Criteria A is met. Conditions that require the plat note have changed because of current AMC Title 21 code requirements. At the time of this plat, old code was referenced and required a 100-foot non-disturbance setback. Following the plat, AO 2018-67S1 was adopted, requiring the 50-foot total stream setback for Succogan Creek per AMC 21-07020B9. Criteria B is met. Removal of the plat note will not have a negative effect on neighboring properties. The removal of this plat note is only applicable to Lot 3 of Hillside North Subdivision, Addition Number 9. Criteria C is met. Plat 2001-176 would continue to meet the approval criteria for subdivisions per subsection 2103-200C9 if this subject plat note is removed. The existing subdivision still meets code even without the restrictive plat note. Therefore, the Planning Department recommends approval of removing Plat Note 3 that states per AMC 2140-115F3, there's a 100-foot non-disturbance setback from the mean high water line of the unnamed creek, subject to Condition A. Thank you, and the applicant's available on the bridge line.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your presentation. Does the Planning Board have any questions of staff on this item? Hearing and seeing none, we'll ask the petitioner to please come forward, state your name, and if you'd like to reserve any of your time for rebuttal. So if we could have the petitioner in case S12700 come forward. Or on the phone, sorry.
This is Lisa Ernest on the phone and the petitioner.
Excellent.
I would just like to state that I agree with the Planning Department, and I'd like to thank you for your time, and I will reserve the rest of my time.
You have 9 minutes and 51 seconds. So do we have any questions of the petitioner from the Platting Board? None. All right. Oh, Mr. Zach Young, go ahead.
Not that it's extremely relevant to a case as the municipality has already recommended, but I'm just curious, are you planning on building within that radius of the creek? Are you needing some extra space that the 100-foot setback would prohibit, that a 50-foot setback would allow you to be able to use that land?
Yes.
And would it be a home? What would be planned to be put there?
Yes, we're planning to build our primary residence.
And just from what I can see in the plat, it looks like having that entire 100-foot setback makes it pretty difficult to construct a home on the lot otherwise. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is.
Okay, so it sounds like this, old note that was on the plat is rather excessive, just because a 100-foot setback on such a small creek seems excessive, at least in my opinion. Thank you for clearing that up, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zach, and thank you, Ms. Ernest. Any other questions from the Planning Board? All right. At this time, we will open the hearing to public testimony. Anyone wishing to testify, please come forward, state your name, state and spell their name for the record. Do we have anyone on the phone for this case?
No, Mr. Chair, you do not.
So then we would close it. Oh, Ms. Ernest, do you have any additional remarks?
I do not. Thank you very much for your time.
The public hearing for this is now closed. So what is the will of the body? We will need a motion to approve. So we have a motion to approve by Ryan Moorman and seconded by Zach Young. Ryan, please read your motion into the record.
Through the chair, I move in case S12700 to approve the removal of a restrictive plat note number 3 from plat 2001-176 that states per AMC 21.40.115.f.3 there is a 100-foot non-disturbance setback from the mean high water line of an unnamed creek, subject to the condition shown on page 3 of the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Moorman. Would you speak to your motion?
I'll speak to my motion as following the department recommendations. It looks like everything was thorough and all items check off the list.
Thank you. Are there any additional findings?
As previously stated, I will be supporting this motion. I believe that the prior municipality plat note was in excess and was more restrictive than necessary in order to develop this 2.5-acre lot. And I believe that removing it while keeping a 50-foot setback in place will both protect that environment of that creek, as was agreed upon by the watershed service. So I will be supporting this motion.
Excellent, Mr. Young. Thank you. Any other findings? Hearing none, I would actually like to add that the findings that under the staff analysis, the conditions have been met for this removal, and they have been stated adequately within the staff analysis. A, B, and C for the removal of the plat note. With that, we would like to time to vote. So if you would please vote.
Ms. McGillivray?
Yes.
Mr. Gould?
Yes.
Thank you.
So that motion has passed with all of the 5 that are here. And then we will move on to the next case. All right. The next case on the agenda is case S12701, with the petitioner being T&T Brothers Property LLC. May I have the staff's presentation for this case?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a request to subdivide 2 lots into 1 lot with vacation of a portion of the 33-foot wide section line easement and a 33-foot by 130-foot section of West 92nd Avenue right-of-way. This request is being made to consolidate the lots to propose Lot 5E1 and to vacate the section line easement and right-of-way. The petitioner has started the application process with the State of Alaska Department of National Resources for approval of the section line easement vacation, and vacation approval from the municipality of Anchorage is required to complete that process. And that's why we're before us tonight. So the petition site is located south of West Diamond Boulevard, north of West 92nd, and west of Victoria Place. The joining lot and Fred Meyer have access to the West Diamond Boulevard intersection, and the proposed subdivision meets the requirements of the B3 General Business Zoning District. Victoria Place is currently dedicated to a width of 60 feet. This conforms to the official streets and highways plan. No improvements are required with this platting action. However, improvements will be required at the time of development of Lot 5E1, which will require MOA half-street standards to include curb, gutter, sidewalk, lighting, and an asphalt pavement width of 24 feet. Staff has requested a plat note that the future development will require these improvements to Victoria Place. So in the matters of the vacation requests, this is the request that the petitioner is vacating that portion of the 33-foot wide section line easement and a 33-foot by 135-foot section of West 92nd Avenue. So staff finds condition 1 has been met. The applicant states that the section line easement and portion of right-of-way is surplus to current and future public needs. The lots to the east have access to Victoria Place, the remainder of West 92nd Avenue, and Runamuck Street. The traffic department states in their comments that they have no objection to the vacation. Staff finds condition number 2 has been met. This right-of-way is not part of the official streets and highways plan. Staff finds condition 3 has been met. The portion of right-of-way is surrounded by property that is accessed from other rights-of-way. In addition, the section line easement is not needed for any existing or planned public streets or infrastructure. Staff finds condition 4 has been met. This section of section line easement was never constructed and does not facilitate connectivity to the abutting streets or the adjacent commercial mall property. Staff finds condition 5 has been met. This vacation will not have any impact on traffic circulation and is once again not part of the official streets and highways plan. The existing street network in Victoria Place already provides adequate access to all existing lots in the area. Staff also finds that condition 6 has been met. It will not result in realignment of any right-of-way. Agencies have expressed no objection to the request to vacate the section line easement and underlying right-of-way. The utility companies will have the opportunity to review the proposed plat and request any easements that are necessary, that if they have utilities in that vacated right-of-way, they're still able to get a utility easement or telephone, electric, or sewer and water easement. Therefore, staff believes that the section line easement and right-of-way is in excess of municipal need and recommends approval of this vacation and plat subject to conditions A and B found on page 8 and 9 of the staff packet. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Do we have any questions of staff from the planning board members? All right. Would I have the petitioner please come forward, state your name, and if you'd like to reserve any time for your rebuttal? And then they are on the phone in this case. Please state your name.
Yeah. Good evening. To the chair, my name is Tony Hoffman. I work with the Boutte Company, and I prepared the plat in front of you today. I don't have much to add to Mr. Odell's presentation. The section of West 92nd we're vacating is indeed in excess of municipal right-of-way, and you can kind of see some of the residents to the south have actually, yeah. So, basically it's a cleanup. We want to enlarge that lot. To the west is the Diamond and Victor Fred Myers, and the road is never going to be pushed through to the west or the east, because on the east you're on the Minnesota southbound southbound ramp, and DOT we've talked to DOT about that in the past, and that will never be another ramp there because it's too close to the one on Diamond. So in all, we believe that this is a very pretty easy subdivision, and I don't think I have anything else to add. I'm happy to answer any other questions you have, and I'll retain my remaining time for rebuttal. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Hoffman.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions for the petitioner from the Platting Board members? Seeing none, we will now open the hearing. So anyone wishing to testify, please come forward, state and spell your name for the record. Anyone on the phone?
No, Mr. Chair, there is not. Thank you.
Then we will close, not yet. Oh, of course. Do we have any rebuttal on?
No, I'd like to, no, thank you. I'm done.
And any last questions of the petitioner? All right. Hearing and seeing
Thank you.
none, now we can close the hearing, public hearing. What is the will of the body? I'll need a motion to approve. The motion has been moved by Zach Young and seconded by Ryan Moorman. Mr. Young, would you read into the record your motion?
Yes. I, Zach Young, move in case S12701 to approve the vacation of a portion of the 33-foot wide section line easement and a 33-foot by 135-foot portion of the West 92nd Avenue right-of-way along proposed lot 5E1, subject to conditions 1 and 2 shown on page 8 of the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Would you speak to your motion?
Yes, I will be supporting this motion. It seems to be beyond the municipality's need. This is one solid lot that is essentially just condensing two lots that are owned by the same individual, and will be able to have better use of that property and develop it in a better way.
Excellent. Thank you. Do we have any findings from the board? Seeing none, any more than what have been already stated? It's time to vote.
Ms. McGillivray? Ms. McGillivray?
Yes.
Mr. Gould?
Yes.
Thank you.
And the motion has passed. we still need to go through the next set, which would be, we need a motion for approval. Bear with us just a moment. Okay. So I'll need a motion to approve for the 24 months. Excellent. The motion has been moved by Mr. Ryan Mormon and seconded by Mr. Zach Young. Mr. Mormon, would you speak to your motion, please? Would you state your motion, please?
Through the chair, I move in case S12701 to approve the plat for 24 months, subject to conditions 1 through 4, shown on pages 8 and 9 of the staff report.
Excellent. Would you speak to your motion, please?
Through the staff analysis, I do believe that all the conditions have been met, and along with the additional plat, notes on the plat for the Victoria Place, the MOA road improvements, half-street standards, includes curb, gutter, sidewalk, and lighting, that they are indeed installed upon completion of the project.
Thank you, Mr. Mormon. Are there any additional findings from the board? All right then, it's time to vote.
Ms. McGillivray?
Yes.
Mr. Gould? Mr. Gould?
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. That motion has passed. Great. So we will move on to the next case on the agenda. It is case S12704. The petitioner is Scott Grigsby, and we would like the staff's presentation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a request for the subdivision of one tract of land into 7 lots and 1 tract. This request is being made to develop the property for future single-family residential dwellings on the proposed lots. The remnant tract contains a majority of the wetlands and stream. So the petition site is located just south of Jamie Avenue, east of Mountaineer Drive, and north of Sandpiper Drive in Anchorage. The property is zoned R7SL. Each proposed lot meets the minimum lot size and site requirements for the R7 Special Limitations Zoning District, as well as the requirements for on-site wastewater systems. So for the road improvements and dedication, the official streets and highways plan identifies East Jamie Avenue to 156 as a neighborhood collector 1B with a minimum right-of-way width of 70 feet. Jamie Avenue is not currently constructed internal and peripheral to the proposed subdivision, so therefore staff is requesting a condition to plat approval requiring the petitioner to dedicate 35 feet of right-of-way along the northern boundary of proposed tract B1 for that southern half of Jamie Avenue, with no improvements required at this time. This will comply with the Hillside District Plan for future Hillside Road connections. There currently exists within the AMAT's Transportation Improvement Program a project that will ultimately connect Mountaineer Drive to Rabbit Creek Road, which would provide secondary access to this portion of the Anchorage hillside. While funding is secured for design at this time, planning believes secondary access connection will be made a priority and that funding will be achieved for construction. And that Mountaineer Drive is identified as a neighborhood collector 1B with a minimum right-of-way width of 70 feet. Mountaineer Drive is currently dedicated at 60 feet, and staff has requested a condition requiring the petitioner to dedicate the 5 feet of right-of-way along the western boundary of this proposed subdivision. So the road is currently constructed to a 24-foot strip paved road with developed cul-de-sac for emergency vehicle turnaround completed under Plat 2011-62. Private development and traffic engineering are not requiring road improvements at this time, as future construction of the AMATS project for Mountaineer Drive will include improvements to the right-of-way, including pedestrian pathways. For trails, Jamie Avenue is identified as an unpaved primary trail connection in the Area Trails Plan and Hillside District Plan. Mountaineer Drive will require separated pedestrian pathway to link other development improvements in the area. As the exact alignment and construction of this road is still being designed, planning is not requiring any trail improvements other than the dedication of right-of-way, which will accommodate any future road and pedestrian improvements for construction and connectivity. So we may have some testimony tonight as pedestrian pathways, but planning staff believes that this will be addressed by the AMATS Mountaineer Drive project, which will include the existing section shown on the plat and is further clarified in the OSH&P plan, which for guidelines for collector streets, it states provide pedestrian facilities along collectors to allow for safe access between activity centers such as schools and parks. And if we note in the agency comments, traffic does comment on the fact that HDR is looking at the design, and it included that from Sandpiper Drive all the way up to Rabbit Creek. So that will include this portion of Mountaineer Drive that is currently constructed at that just the pavement. So for conformance with adopted plans, staff finds that land use policy 4.1 has been met. The subdivision is located within a rural area of the municipality, which will provide additional lots for those seeking a rural large lot parcel. Land use policy 5.1, the rural development of the subdivision is keeping with context of the surrounding neighborhood. Generally, reviewing agencies had no comment or no objection to the subdivision plat requests. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the plat subject to conditions A, 1 through 8, found on page 7, 8, and 9 of the staff packet. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Odell. Do we have any questions of staff from the planning board?
Through the chair, I do have a question on the trails. When it says dedication of right-of-way, which will accommodate any future road and pedestrian improvements for construction and connectivity, is this stating that you could potentially put a road in for connecting the trails? Or does this mean parking lot, or?
It would accommodate, so it'd be the right-of-way would accommodate any pedestrian pathway or the collector or road that's developed. Yeah. It would be, that Jamie Avenue connection and the Mountaineer Drive, whatever alignment that they come up with. So we're looking at the 70 feet, and within that, we're going to place the separate pedestrian pathway and the road requirement, the whole road prism.
Thank you very much. That does clarify it. Thank you.
Any other questions from the planning board? I actually do have a question of Mr. Odell. So on the northern portion of this lot, there is right-of-way that's being requested to be dedicated. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And it connects to Hillside Drive?
Correct. It's basically, if you look at your plat there, it's the 35 feet dedication that'll connect all along the northern, it's, the southern half of that northern property, because there's already some dedication to the north of that.
Has any determination of both of those connections been shown as infeasible for a road connection?
They haven't yet, but like I said, it's in the design phase with HDL and AMATS. They haven't released any type of if there's a bridge or what the exact alignment is.
So we, at this point, nobody has said that it's infeasible to connect the roads.
Correct.
Great, thank you. At this time, we would like to have the petitioner come forward, and in this case, it will be on the phone, Mr. Tony Hoffman.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Through the chairman and to the board, again, my name is Tony Hoffman. I'm representing the petitioner tonight. I work for the Boutte Company. It is, as staff has recommended in their report, it is a very straightforward plat. This tract of land that's adjacent to Mountain Air has sat there for many years since they did the original underlying plat in 2011, and then they started the development of Shangri-La East. And yeah, we're using up the remaining area of decent land on the east side of Mountain Air Drive. Now, to answer your question about the extension of Mountain Air Drive, I believe Nancy Pease is going to perhaps testify tonight, and she has all the background information, has been involved in that Mountain Air Drive extension for years in the Rabbit Creek Community Council. What I can tell you is, there's been a lot of options that have been looked at for Mountain Air extension, and I believe the city and AMATs are pretty well tied into that alignment. There's of Mountain Air Drive, which has been looked at ad nauseum, for quite a few different options. Maybe a bridge across Rabbit Creek, I think, is the one option they're probably going to go with, but I don't know what the current status of the planning is on that with HDR and AMATs. And other than that, it's a pretty straightforward plat. The lots have been tested for septic and for water availability, and there's plenty of that through here, so we're not going to encounter any unknown situations. The wetlands were recently remapped by Travis Peterson, and both those lines are shown there, the Travis Peterson mapping and the municipal mapping that was put in place, I think in 2011, are pretty well coinciding. Other than that, I appreciate your time, and we agree with the plat conditions. I know on the bridge also is Grant Matthews with Triad Engineering, who's involved in the engineering and the testing on the properties, and also in attendance tonight is Scott Grigsby, the owner of the property and the petitioner. So if you have any further questions for them or for me, I'm happy to answer them. And that's all I have, and we'll retain our time as needed.
Excellent, thank you. You have 7 minutes and 23 seconds remaining.
Thank you. Grant, do you have anything to add?
No, this is Grant Matthews with Triad Engineering on the bridge, and don't have any questions or anything at this time, but can chime in if the board has any questions.
Could you provide your name for the record, please? Spell.
Yeah, Grant Matthews, Mathews, with Triad Engineering.
Thank you, sir. You have 7 minutes and 2 seconds remaining.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions of the petitioner from the planning board? Seeing none, we can move on. So the hearing is now open for public testimony. Anyone wishing to testify, please come forward, state and spell your name for the record.
I believe we have 2 callers for public testimony. I'll go ahead and do that now.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Odell.
This is Diane.
Hi, hello, so it's Diane. This is the Platting Board calling for public testimony.
Yes.
in case
Yes, I'm
S12704?
I'm Diane Holmes. And as the new subdivisions
I have a couple questions here, Diane.
Sure.
So you're
Right.
testifying as an individual?
Yes, as an individual.
Okay, you have three minutes. Like you said, go ahead and state your full name and you can begin.
Diane Holmes. As the new subdivisions have been platted in the last couple of years, like River Hills and Spruce Terraces and others that are on your calendar, they've each contributed to the goal of connecting neighborhoods with pedestrian paths, just as the Hillside District Plan advocates and Policy 55 of the 2020 Comp Plan, which really still is the law of the land. This accomplishment is welcomed in our area. That it's actually a trail desert, because with each new plat, we reach the goal of safe connecting pathways. And Shangri-La East will add to these connections, but I have a few questions. I assume the wetlands along Jamie will be delineated, but I do not find that in the staff report, only the marking setbacks for streams. And certainly they won't be marked permanently. Now, everyone knows that with each new homeowner, they may not read their plat carefully, so setbacks and wetlands can and are being violated. So please confirm the wetlands will be marked, and can they be marked rather permanently. Now, request that you add to the conditions that Jamie's right-of-way be carefully marked, as people are already walking in that area, and they may be walking on private property unless that right-of-way is marked. Our fear that a pathway along Mountain Air, south of Little Rabbit Creek, may not be built has been somewhat appeased by the recent knowledge that the larger Mountain Air project from Rabbit Creek Road will be designed all the way across the creek to Sandpiper, and the area of Mountain Air that is already paved south of the creek will be reconstructed to collector status with a pathway. Now, this is good news, but only if that larger project gets built. And I don't know what will happen if it doesn't. What can you advise to add to the conditions in case this happens, that Mountain Air is not constructed or at a different location? Well, I don't know if your authority includes adding the detail of where the trail along Mountain Air will be placed. We would be grateful if the recommendation is made for a trail along the east side of Mountain Air for that portion south of the creek. Now, why is this important? Because as someone who's worked in the Rabbit Creek Greenbelt trails for 20 years, it's obvious that trails on the east and north sides of roads are free of snow before the opposite side is. The snow melts, the sun melts the snow faster on the east and north. I know this is a small point, but we would really appreciate that little recommendation and the conditions, along with the other one that I mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holmes. Do we have any questions from the Planning Board for Ms. Holmes? Thank you, Ms. Holmes, for your testimony. We have,
Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please consult your directory and...
Okay, let's see here.
Hello, this is Nancy Pease.
Hi, Nancy Pease. This is the Platting Board calling for public testimony in case S12704. Are you testifying as an individual or representing the group tonight?
I am speaking on behalf of Rabbit Creek Community Council.
Okay, thank you. You'll have 5 minutes to provide your testimony. Please state your full name for the record, and you can begin.
Nancy Pease, speaking on behalf of Rabbit Creek. The Rabbit Creek Community Council reviewed this plat several times in recent months and voted 15-0 to submit comments in a letter, which was sent to the Platting Board on November 15th. So you should have seen that. And I'll just highlight and expand on some of those comments now. Rabbit Creek Community Council has requested permanent field markings for the setbacks along wetlands and streams in this plat to avoid encroachment under Title 2107-020. These water bodies all discharge ultimately into Potter Marsh, which is, of course, a public asset of regional importance, depending on, quality of freshwater discharge. We found that owners are not experts at locating those setbacks in the field, and construction crews can be totally uninterested in complying. In our council area, we've seen egregious encroachment in stream setbacks in recent years, and restoration is often difficult or impossible. So we're hoping that the Platting Board will require field markings of those setbacks. We've also asked the Platting Board to require marking the section line easements along the northern property boundary, and to indicate where pedestrians can traverse this property. A pedestrian passage is a legal use along that section line, and it is a well-established historical use, and it provides important east-west and north-south connections for non-motorized uses and neighborhood connectivity. The northern property boundary, which I just mentioned, is under consideration for formal rural trail designation as part of Rabbit Creek Community Council's Schools on Trails project. There are wetlands there, but the presence of wetlands does not discount the potential of this easement, especially for winter use under frozen condition. And we feel that permanent stakes markers would be a small marginal cost to the survey effort, and it would give high public returns by avoiding inadvertent trespass or conflicts between pedestrians and adjoining property users. So we think it would be a win-win to require those. We've also asked to include a plat note that the wetlands in Tract B are noted for wetland retention in the Hillside District Plan on map 2-11. We have suggested that watershed management could help to identify the function of these wetlands and recommend particular conditions of approval for that tract containing the wetlands to maintain the functions. And finally, our council, Rabbit Creek, wants to ask the Platting Board for its continuing attentiveness to opportunities for non-motorized connectivity. The municipality does not currently have any staff assigned as non-motorized coordinators. Therefore, we're told that the burden transfers to the public and to some extent to the Platting Board to be vigilant or even proactive in identifying how to fill in the gaps of our non-motorized pathway system. And there are two important specific points of information I'd like to leave you with. Rabbit Creek Community Council, as I mentioned, has a Schools on Trails project. We are working to create walking routes to Bear Valley Elementary School and Golden View Middle School in the area of this plat. Bear Valley is one of only 2 Anchorage School District schools with 0 approved safe walking routes. Every student is expected to be bused or driven, and we're trying to remedy that. And second, I'd just like to remind you of Title 2108-040D, which states that for pedestrian access, a right-of-way is the preferred method of providing public access. And that doesn't apply in this case. You've added 5 feet to Mountaineer Drive, that's in a right-of-way. But in the future, often we see the staff recommending pedestrian easements, but a right-of-way is the preferred way under Title 21. So on behalf of Rabbit Creek Community Council, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Pease. So do we have any questions from the Platting Board for this testimony? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any other testimony?
No, Mr. Chair, you do not.
Okay. Do we have rebuttal from the petitioner?
Yeah, through the chair, this is Tony Hoffman again. I do have a couple comments about Ms. Holmes' questions and things she was asking about. The marking of the wetland boundary isn't difficult by any means. It's going to define it's not a difficult thing, and I believe the petitioner wouldn't mind some sort of a metal sign every 100 feet or so along the boundary of the wetland adjoining the lot. That's not a problem, and we would agree to that. However, I would say marking a wetland or a stream setback is very problematic. First of all, because the code changes, as you've already heard in one of your cases tonight, from revisions, and stream locations move. And that's why, that's why we don't actually put bearings and distances on the stream setbacks anymore, or on stream center lines generally, is because the streams move. They migrate depending on the flow of the year and such. So marking a setback may or may not, permanently may or may not be accurate in 5 years from now or 10 years from now. So I would push back against that. There is no requirement in municipal code for that. So I don't think it's a good idea. And the other question I think Diane had or Nancy had was about marking the section line, which is basically the marking the north boundary line at intervals. That's not a problem either. They, it's an easy to access area, so surveying it isn't that difficult. So marking it with stakes is not, and clearly visible stakes is not a problem. I would, again, push back against putting permanent markers on there, because in areas of high use, maybe not on the Rabbit Creek, but in other areas, I've seen those stakes disappear or be moved, and that's one reason I would think that may not be a good idea. But I think staking it with conventional wooden stakes and something in the ground and marking it well is not problematic, and we would agree to that. So other than that, I don't know if Grant has anything to add, or maybe the owner might want to step up and say something.
Great, thank you.
This is Grant Matthews with Triad Engineering again. I guess the only thing that I would say through the chair is I believe Ms. Holmes had a comment about requesting a certain side of the road for the trail alignment for the Mountain Air project. I'm not exactly sure how that could be accomplished through this platting action. I don't see a way to do that. I don't think that we have a specific location that would be, I don't think it would really pertain to this plat, but I guess I'm just not sure how that would function for putting a condition on that project.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Apparently, we have someone that wishes to testify.
I'm Scott Grigsby.
I'm sorry?
Petitioner. I'm Scott Grigsby.
Yours.
Tony offered to me to come up and comment a little bit here, so I have a couple things if I could.
Great. So let me kind of get for the record that you are Scott Grigsby, and you're going to be adding to the rebuttal. There are 3 minutes and 26 seconds for the rebuttal.
Just really quick, in reference to the wetland markings, that's been determined that would happen, and what Tony's talked about, I'm confirming that also, that there will be some markings for that are permanent. But everything else, I think I'm in agreement with what has been talked to about with Tony and Grant. So we are neighbors up there already. We live up there. We're just basically eventually moving across the road. So that's the idea here, and we really love it up there, and we wanted to keep it the way it is, so we do have a vested interest in the whole thing. So that's it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Grigsby.
Yep.
Do we have any last questions for the petitioner from the board? Looks like we do not. Then we would close it. So the public hearing for this is now closed. And it rests with the body. What is the will of the body? We will need a motion. What? Excellent. We have a motion moved by Zach Young and seconded by Mr. Ryan Moorman. Mr. Young, please state your motion.
I move in case S1704 to approve the plat for 24 months, subject to conditions 1 through 8 shown on pages 7 through 9 of the staff report.
Excellent. And would you speak to your motion, please?
Yes, I believe that since all of the conditions have been met, this develops additional land in the area, and then will also be likely to incentivize the municipality to provide secondary access to all those individuals, and then potentially even up to Jamie Avenue in the north. I believe I will be supporting this motion.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Do we have any additional findings from the board? I don't see any, but I would like to make a few findings. We've had testimony tonight from several callers asking for markings of temporal bodies that change. These apparently have been heard by both the planning department and the petitioner themselves, and they are willing to mark permanent things, but they are not so willing to mark such temporary things. And so the concerns have been met, and they have been heard, and where it makes sense in terms of permanent markings for a permanent boundary, that appears that that's going to happen. This is also a situation where secondary access is eventually being planned by the municipality, and so there are provisions being put in place to satisfy both the temporary situation and the permanent situation. So I intend on supporting the motion. Any final comments before we vote? It is time to vote.
Ms. McGillivray?
Yes.
Mr. Gould?
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion has passed. So, do we need a second motion? No, we do not. Okay, thank you everybody. I appreciate your time. I believe the next is
Thank you.
coming up. All right. The next case we have is case S12686, Sherry Cole. May we have the staff's presentation, please?
Thank you, Mr. So this is a request to remove plat note number 2 from plat 2014-58 Roseberry Highlands subdivision for lots 3, 5, 7, 8, and 9. That would be plat note number 2. And the applicant asserts that this plat note is not necessary because after the time of recording the subdivision plat, The International Fire Code, Section 507.1, was amended to exempt single-family dwellings in areas not served by a water utility to be required to install sprinklers. So the plat was recorded 2014, and the code was amended 2020. So the property owners are stating they will implement a fire prevention plan by following the Wildland Urban Interface Code for clearing any trees or combustible brush surrounding the home, use of composite building materials, fire-resistant shingles, flame-retardant approved exterior paint, and installing a 600-gallon holding tank to supply exterior hose bibs. Planning staff recognizes the property is not serviced by a water utility. However, the home sites are located approximately 3.1 miles from Fire Station 11 and roughly 3,750 feet from the closest fire hydrant on municipal water. So the close proximity to a fire hydrant and fire station is a weighing factor in planning supporting the approval of the plat note removal. For the staff analysis findings of the removal, staff finds that condition A has been met. Conditions that required the plat note have changed because in October 2020, the International Fire Code was amended to allow construction to continue in areas not served by a water utility, and are generally in areas that coincide with the wildland urban interface by allowing those single-family homes to be exempt to the requirement of sprinklering. The combined number of lots within the subdivision area totals 20, which is below the requirement that would require secondary access. So the need for the plat note has been negated by the current code for fire protection to exempt single-family homes in the area. Staff finds condition B has been met. Removal of the plat note will not have a negative effect on neighboring properties. The property owners have stated they are adopting an identical fire protection plan implemented on 4 of the 5 existing homes built in Roseberry Highlands. Staff finds condition C has been met. Plat 2014-58 would continue to meet the approval criteria for subdivisions. If plat note number 2 were removed, the existing subdivision still facilitates the orderly and efficient layout and use of the land to the maximum extent feasible. Even without the restrictive plat note, as the owner's fire prevention plan increases safety. The existing plat of remaining buildable lots within Roseberry Highlands subdivision allows the homeowners to provide a defensible space for landscaping that follows the Wildland Urban Interface Code. Therefore, staff believes approval of the request to remove plat note number 2, subject to the one condition found on page 4 of the staff packet. And this is for lots 3, 5, 7, 8, and 9, which are basically the remaining developable lots. I can answer any question, and it looks like the petitioners here are here in person as well. Thank you. I guess I'll add one background, and it wasn't included in the historical, but the planning board has seen one other lot go through this process a couple years ago, and that was approved, and I believe the home is built now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Odell. Do we have any questions of staff from the planning board? Excellent. We would have the petitioner please come forward, state your name, and if you'd like to reserve any time for a rebuttal.
Hi, my name is Brent Cole. I'm not going to reserve any time because I'm not going to take up much of your time. My wife asked me to step in. We're the owners of Lot 7. We're here on behalf of Lots 3, 5, 7, 8, and 9. There's representation letters that are in there. I was asked because I actually sat in your places at one time for a while. I know the process. I know it's getting late in the evening and everybody needs to go. But we are asking the removal of plat note number 2 from plat 201458. We will note that my review of the staff has recommended this. I took a look at all the agency comments. I didn't see any negative or any comments whatsoever. I'm happy to answer any questions. I would reserve the remaining amount of time if as necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Cole, for your service before us, and thank you so much for your testimony here to us as the petitioner. Do we have any questions to the petitioner? Sorry. From the planning board. Fair enough. This hearing is now open for public testimony. Anyone wishing to testify, please come forward, state and spell your name for the record. Apparently no one here and no one on the phone. Do we have any additional questions for the petitioner? No. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Cole, do you have anything else to add?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cole has indicated no. Well, then that would put it, we have closed the public hearing for this case. What is the will of the body? We will need a motion. It has been moved by Mr. Ryan Mormon and seconded by Mr. Zach Young. Mr. Mormon, state your motion.
Through the chair, I move to approve case number S12686, request to remove plat note number 2 from plat 2014-58, which reads, all new dwellings shall be equipped with a residential sprinkler system installed in accordance with NFPA 13 or until such time as a connection to a second fire apparatus access road is constructed and approved to the International Fire Code for lots 3, 5, 7, 8, and 9, Roseberry Highlands subdivision.
Thank you, Mr. Mormon. Please speak to your motion.
I have nothing further to say.
Excellent. Are there any additional findings? With that, it's time to vote.
Ms. McGillivray?
Yes.
Mr. Gold?
Yes.
Thank you.
And with that vote, the motion has passed. And I believe that our next case has been postponed. So we need a motion to postpone this case. Excellent. It has been moved by Mr. Zach Young and seconded by Mr. Ryan Mormon. Mr. Young, please state your motion.
I move to postpone case S12706 to the February 1st, 2023 Platting Board meeting to allow the petitioner adequate time to resolve the issues with the traffic and private development departments.
Mr. Young, please speak to your motion.
I plan to support this motion. That was all.
Any other comments? It's time to vote.
Ms. McGillivray?
Yes.
Mr. Gould?
Yes.
Thank you.
The motion has passed. And with that, we have completed our agenda. We don't have any appearance requests, nor persons to be heard, nor reports. Do we have any board member comments? I would like to thank everyone for their attendance. I appreciate you being able to help us with these cases and the patience with me. And with that, hearing no objections, we have a motion to adjourn. Moved by Ryan Moorman, seconded by Zach Young. No objections, we're adjourned. Thank you so much.